What happens when a family of five trades the American dream for life on the open road? Jen and Kyle Bethune share their inspiring journey of freedom, family, and full time travel. Welcome to RV Out West. I'm Brooks. Based in the Pacific Northwest, my family of four hits the road to explore the best of RV life out west. From hidden gems and epic destinations to helpful tips and real road stories. So grab your coffee and join the journey. Jen and Kyle Bethune are an adventurous, free-spirited couple who chose a life less ordinary, trading in the daily grind of a stationary existence for full-time travel with their three kids and their dogs. Fueled by a desire for a deeper connection, personal freedom, and unforgettable experiences, they've embraced life on the road with open hearts and wide eyes. Through their popular YouTube channel, Red, White, and Bethune, they invited viewers along for the ride, sharing the beauty and chaos of nomadic living with authenticity and humor. While they have ceased production of that original YouTube channel, they now each have their own YouTube channel. Jen can be found over at Genuinely Being, where she talks about living life on your own terms, mindfulness, and other intimate moments of what it's like to be nomadic. Kyle's channel is Bus and Bethunes, where he shares the trials and tribulations of living the bus life. As they both share their lives, their stories continue to inspire thousands to rethink the meaning of home, family, and how to choose living your life each day. Jen and Kyle open up to us about their path to the nomadic lifestyle, what it's really like raising a family on the road, and their favorite memories from the Pacific Northwest, and they have quite a few. From those quiet moments to the crazy detours, they share those experiences that have shaped their journey, offering a raw and honest glimpse into life on the move. This is a heartfelt conversation with two people chasing dreams, embracing change, and proving that home truly is wherever you park it. Kyle and Jen, thank you so much for joining us here on RV Out West.
Thanks, us too.
Yeah, so to kick things off, why don't you guys give us a little bit of a brief snapshot of who you are and where you guys met and kind of what led you to living this path of the nomadic life and sharing it with the world?
So we are Jen and Kyle Bethune. I guess starters, we met on Match.com back in 2006, back when like internet dating was a new thing.
Yeah.
And we got married 2 years later to the day in Las Vegas, Nevada. And yeah, we'd been RVing for quite a few years before we decided to make the big leap into full-time RV life.
So you said you guys have been RVing a long time. Did you both grow up RVing kind of before you guys met? Or was that something kind of the two of you got into after you met?
Well, I grew up kind of around them a little bit. I wouldn't say my parents were RVers per se, but I have my brother's 12 years older than I am. And ever since like he got his driver's license, he's had some form of RV and was camping. So I always had like a huge interest in them, And when I got older, I was like, oh, when I get old enough or can maybe afford one of my own, I'm going to do this. And I just kind of always loved it, just the idea that I can take a home with me or I have shelter with me wherever I go. I was always kind of fascinated by it. It's just something I loved and did that. And we got married. Jen really never camped much either. We're both native Floridians and had ample opportunities and places to do it. We just never really did it much. So we got married, we were able to start our family and let's look into buying an RV. So we did, and we really haven't looked back since.
And then when did you guys make the switch from kind of the RV to doing more of the bus?
Well, we started out, like I say, probably, God, I don't know, in a year. The kids were tiny. But anyway,
2013.
yeah, we started out in a Class A, an older Monaco. It was a 40-foot pusher, diesel pusher. And we love that thing. Like we bought it. It was pretty old. I would say probably 15 plus years old at the time. And we remodeled. I say remodeled. We kind of went inside and did a little facelift and camped in that a couple years. And we're like, oh, we want more slides. So we ended up buying another Class A with 4 slides. And that was just the biggest nightmare. That thing was broke all the time. And we had a travel trailer. We had an Airstream. We've kind of been through the gamut a little bit. We've had them all. And then in 2019, we took a summer trip, pre-COVID, like we always did. And at the time we had an older Class A. We're like, let's sell everything we got and let's go travel. Like, let's just do this. Why not? We're at a pivotal point in our marriage and our lives. Like, we have the opportunity to maybe do this, so let's do it. And my brother had kind of switched over more to the bus world a little bit, kind of vintage buses, I guess, more so. He's like, hey, you need to get a bus. Those things were designed to be on the road. Like you guys are going to put them through the wear and tear. And not knowing much more than that, I bought a bus to do this. A 1983 Eagle. They've been out of business for 25 years. And it's been an adventure. We did the first 4.5, 5 years in that. And then this past winter, we took ownership it started inhabiting an MCI, a bigger, newer MCI.
So, with all of this time on the road that you guys have done, what's kind of been one of the biggest unexpected challenges you guys faced, and how did you guys get through it?
I think it was living in a confined space with 9 living things, our dogs, our kids, ourselves, and learning how to get into a flow and find a routine and kind of find a style. And yeah, I think that was the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and we're trying to do this in a 40-year-old bus, at least for the last 5 years. And I was never really a mechanic per se, but I had to learn to become one out of necessity. I've had to learn how to work on things and become rather handy, make decisions that are high pressure sometimes, and it's definitely made us resilient and really learn how to work quickly on our feet, make decisions when they really count. It's like she said, it's the space. Our kids are getting older, they're getting bigger, and that was one of the main reasons we made the move to a bigger bus, the biggest one we could possibly buy, because they're getting older and we wanted to afford them as much space as we possibly could.
Well, that kind of segues. It's interesting that you said that, because I'm kind of curious too. How do you handle kind of family conflict and burnout when living in such a small space?
Our kids have just really adapted well. They don't really, not much phases them. Like we have, obviously we're a family and we live in 300, a little over 300 square feet together. So obviously there's going to be issues at times, but as a whole, we really just flow well together. We face the problems when they come. And our kids have just become really resilient. They're just easy. They're easygoing. I don't know that would have happened in a more of a traditional setting. They were all relatively young when we started, so they kind of spent a good portion of their lives this being their residence. So I think in doing that, they've just become brilliantly resilient kids. Like, they just, not much phases them.
That's great. I want to talk a bit about your journey through YouTube. What was the catalyst for you guys to decide to kind of start sharing your journey on YouTube, and how has that kind of shaped your experiences?
Well, Kyle was the one that came up with the idea to go on YouTube. And, after he bought this bus, and he's like, you know what? I want to make a YouTube channel. I want to show and document this and show everybody that this can be done. And I'm like, okay. And so, we're filming all the things and doing all the things. And I really think in that beginning, I really just wanted to have those memories, because it all went by so fast. I'm so glad and grateful that we recorded all of those years, because we have a huge catalog of family videos that we can always go back on.
I had discovered YouTube, obviously, like everybody, but I didn't really know much beyond, it was just a video sharing platform. I didn't know people made a living doing it. I didn't know you can make money. I had no idea. My brother's like, he started introducing me to some of the nomad channels of that's been around, Nomadic Fanatic, which has been around forever. And I was like, oh, this is intriguing. I can do this. I don't know why. I've never liked being on camera ever my entire life. And then Eric actually came and stayed with us while we were building our first bus. Just kind of meeting him, hanging out with him a little bit. I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. I'd like to be able to do this. We just stuck with it. I don't know why we've stuck with it. I mean, this is the lowest paying gig I've ever done in my life,
And I know too, like, you guys have had, for lack of better words, a hell of a YouTube journey. You've had those jerks who make really outlandish and rude comments and assumptions about your family, whether it's unwarranted parenting advice to whatever else. So, and then I remember when you guys transitioned Red, White, and Bethune, and then you almost kind of went dark for a little while just to kind of regroup, center yourselves. And then, Jen, you came out with your own YouTube channel. And then Kyle, you just started bussing Bethunes again because you were just wanting to share more bus stories, which, by the way, thank you, by the way. What has been kind of one of the things that's surprised you guys the most about growing kind of this online community that's around your nomadic life?
For me, it is the people, the community that, I kind of was like, I'm done. I kind of hung it up. I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. It's hard. I mean, if you've made YouTube content, it's hard. It's very hard to keep showing up every week or every however often you post, because sometimes it's just you, and you're wanting to grow this thing, you're wanting to turn it into something more. And I just kind of I didn't feel like I could do that anymore with being Bethunes. And I kind of felt like it had run its course. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna walk away. It's been a good ride. We've gotten to do some insane stuff and experience some insane stuff. And I kind of I got to missing it, just to be honest with you. I was like, I miss sharing. I miss, creating these videos. And this response up to this point has been insanely overwhelming. Like the channel's doing as good or better than when I stopped before, after 5 years. So, it's been interesting.
I think one of the things too that is just crazy is how you guys had that footage of Gabby. Like that is just nuts. Just right to be right place, right time, and happen to just be filming and to be able to, help authorities and getting more information, helping to be able to put that case to rest. I mean, that's just incredible.
That was a wild time, and not something that's like super public knowledge, but we found the footage on our son Ethan that we lost. We found the footage on his birthday. It was a wild experience. I got to go and I write about it in my book, my Serendipitous Day, where I got to go to Long Island and I got to release 10 years of grief of losing my child. And, Gabby's mom and I are good friends now. And she really, I don't think will ever know how much that meant to me, her asking me to come out there and being able to release so much that was in me. It was such a beautifully hard tragedy, right? Because there's so many beautiful things that came out of it, but such a wonderful soul was lost in the process. And I think that's a lot of the reason why we wanted Red, White, and Bethune to it needed to come to a close, because that's kind of what we became known for. And we weren't so many people suggested we become crime fighters and like go across the country and like try and find people. And we're like, no, that's not what we're here for.
We didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, it was such a beautifully hard experience for sure.
I can only, but I don't actually honestly want to imagine.
Yeah, it was a ride. It was a wild ride.
Just between everything and finding the footage on your son's birthday and all of that. I mean, it's wild. Really. Let's take a moment, as I'd like to thank Camper Alerts for being a longtime sponsor of the show. And if you're looking for a sold-out campground or fancy yourself as a spontaneous individual, then let CamperAlerts.com help you find your next spot to camp. Please give them a visit and use their great service. It's summertime and the great outdoors are calling. But did you forget to book a campsite 9 months ago? Well, don't worry. Say goodbye to sold-out campgrounds with Camper Alerts. With Camper Alerts, you can choose your campground, select your site type, and set a personalized alert. And when a site becomes available, they will notify you. It's that simple. Visit CamperAlerts.com today and start setting your alerts. I love the Pacific Northwest. So let's talk about the Pacific Northwest, because I think you guys seem to have a connection to the PNW. You've been here before. You've been here numerous times. And if I don't know, but do you guys have family or friends that are in this area? So no, it's the region that brings you back, as they're shaking their heads no.
It really is. I mean, the first time that we came up here, we built a camper van Kyle is such a great idea guy. He comes up with these amazing ideas that we try and play. And we build this camper van in Cusick, Washington, which is Northeast Washington. And so our good friends, Jed and Sandy, who also have a van, they build it with us. They pause their life for 6 weeks to help us build this thing. And our whole goal was to go explore the Pacific Northwest while our bus, Blue Betty, was remodeled down in Arizona.
I remember those videos, by the way.
Oh, man.
Yep, I was watching. Yep.
When we got in that van, it all went to hell. It just did. It was just bottom went out. Mental health was at its very lowest. We had just went like mega viral on like 4 platforms with 5 different videos, and we were burnt out. And I will tell you, some of the best experiences of my life, one of them was in Sisters, Oregon. And I just had this beautiful moment on a rock, the wind blowing me, the sun like just cleansing all the negative energy. And that summer was one of the best summers of my life because I really believe it led to such an evolution and a change in me. And it was because of being in this beautiful environment and these trees and this energy. And yeah, the Pacific Northwest will forever be probably my favorite place in the US.
Yeah, I mean, it's undoubtedly one of the most beautiful places in the US, if not the world. I mean, it's just unbelievably beautiful. I mean, look at the background I'm looking at right now. I mean, it's just, it's just one of those beautiful places you'll ever visit. And it's kind of cool coming back the second time a little bit. Unfortunately, we didn't get to visit as many places as we did the first time, but getting to go back to some of those spots and I'm, being older in a much different headspace, it's been fun. It's such a gorgeous area. I mean, just the natural beauty is unparalleled. Like I said, we've been everywhere in this country, and I can't think of anywhere else that even really comes close.
I've been to all 50 states myself, and I spent 10 years away. I'm born and raised in the Northwest, but I spent a decade away, and there's just a pull. And it was, we had our short list, and I love Denver. Portland, Maine is beautiful, and it was on our short list. And so my wife and I were talking about where do we want to go and end up. And I was like, I think I just need to get back to the B&W. And so she came, and we moved here in May, and that May was the worst rain we had ever had. And she was like, what in the hell is this place like? This is not what I signed up for. And I'm like, no. This is really not a normal year. Like, this is weird. And now we've been here now since 2010. And she was like, that was a really weird year because you're right. That was a really wet year, not a normal. So anyway, just kind of funny. But let's talk about some of your favorite spots in the PNW that do keep pulling you back. What are these gems and these well-loved destinations of yours that draw you here?
I mean, this one's it's definitely not like a touristy thing, but when we had the van, we found this little spot to camp on Whidbey Island. It was just so it was this, I don't know, it was this little cove, and there was this road, and it made a sharp turn to the left, and there was cottages all along the Puget Sound, and there was this little pull off. And apparently you could park there, and we did, and online on one of the websites, yeah, you can park here overnight, no issues. So we did, and it was just one of the best sunsets I've ever seen in my life, and the rocks, the water, the waves coming up on the rock. I don't know, I think it was just a very peaceful, tranquil time for me, and it was just such a beautiful spot there, man. To me, that really stands out as just one of the most incredible, just boondocking spots we've ever had.
It was, oh gosh, that was because the rocks, they make this sound, and it was in the midst of so much chaos. That was pretty cool. But honestly, I loved San Juan Island. It was really, really cool. We went to a sheep rancher's place and stayed for Harvest Host one night. We got to hold these little baby sheep and these incredible views. And of course, you have to take the ferry across. And so we were spending one more night, And the next day we were leaving and our ferry got canceled for the next day. And so we literally had nowhere to stay. And luckily, the fairgrounds on San Juan Island was so gracious and so wonderful. They're like, no, you can park over in the corner. That's fine. And I'm a people person. So a lot of places that I go, people are a big thing for me. And just that graciousness to be able to let us stay there. We had nowhere else to go. And yeah, that was a good spot.
It just the Olympic Peninsula in general is just so beautiful. There's a spot we stayed at right outside of Forks. It's called Allen's Bar Campground. It's not a campground at all. A guy owns a bunch of land right on the Hoh River there, and he lets people stay out by the river for $5 a night fee. And we did that. We spent a few nights there, and man, you just talk about an amazingly beautiful spot. The river, I mean, you could literally throw a rock out your window and hit the river. It was just so beautiful. And then, yeah, that just whole area is just incredible.
Yep. So in all of your travels to the Pacific Northwest, there has to be one or two places that's eluded you. It's been on your list. You want to go, but for whatever reason, you haven't made it there. Where is that? And tell me about that. And why is there a draw for that place?
Where's the Tulip Festival?
Scotty.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's a Tulip Festival that we always miss. The first year we came too late. This year we came too late. And so, yeah, we've never gotten to see the Tulip Festival. I think that would be pretty cool.
You know, I want to, we did it a little bit. I definitely want to spend some more time on the coast. You know, we spent some time on the Oregon coast. Didn't really get to see a lot of the Washington coast. I loved Astoria. Oh my God. It's just such a cool town.
Astoria is amazing.
It is.
I
It is so
Astoria.
cool. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, the history with the Goonies and just the whole, it's just such a neat place. I don't know, you know, we really haven't gotten to spend much time in Bend either. We've been through a couple times, but never really got to like explore that area a ton. There's just so much up here. We haven't been to Crater Lake. I mean, you know, there's a lot we haven't really gotten to do, you know, because there's such
Mount St. Helens.
Yeah. And I mean, we did one afternoon at Mount Rainier, and that wasn't like, there's just a lot of things we just kind of got to skim the surface on that I'd love to go back and revisit. Mount Hood, you know,
I mean, you could easily spend 3 months here.
Oh, easy.
You know, and get, I would say in a 3-month summer, you could get, you know, your toes definitely dipped and wet and be like, okay, I have a pretty good solid base.
Right.
You still wouldn't be able to see anything or everything, but you know, it's funny. Mount St. Helens, I just went Memorial Weekend for the first time ever in my life, and I was alive when she blew her top, and I remember that day. And so for me to be able to go and to see it was pretty special, and I definitely want to go back, but it was very, very cool. Let's talk about some of the activities that you've enjoyed. And I don't know if you're hikers, but I mean, what are some of the activities that you enjoy doing when you're here? I mean,
to say we're hikers would be a stretch, but when we're here, we'd love to hike. Because I mean, it's just, how do you not? Like, it's just incredible. Yeah, I mean, we went to Snoqualmie Falls a few weeks ago. That was incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
We were over in Leavenworth. We didn't even mention that. Leavenworth was really a cool stop. That was a lot of fun. You know, really neat little hidden. I don't know if it's hidden gem, but to us, to East Coast centers, that's definitely a hidden gem. I've never heard of Leavenworth in my life until I became a traveler. I don't know. It's hard to leave.
Yeah, I mean, we went into Seattle a couple weeks ago and went to the market and saw them throw fish and like do the touristy thing. And I think for me especially, I just love to be outside among the trees, walking on whatever path I can find. You know, I think the cool thing is we're not very planned people. And so serendipity is like our middle name. And we always end up stumbling upon kind of the coolest things that are unexpected.
For sure.
I'm going into a little bit more of a reflective mode right now, and I'm just kind of curious, what's been some of the most rewarding parts of this experience that you guys have created, you know, for yourselves and for your family and your children and your pups, but, you know, more about it for yourselves?
I think self-awareness. Because when you're videoing yourself and, you know, you set the camera there and somebody aggravates you or triggers you on the camera, like that's still recording and that's going to show. And so I think because I've recorded myself for almost 6 years straight now and edited the videos. I'm like, oh, I don't want to come across like that. I didn't intend it that way. And then you finally get to see yourself through other people's eyes. And I think there's such a beauty in the catalog that we've built and being able to realize, oh, I don't really like how that is. I'm going to make a better choice to be a better person, to be a better parent, to be a better spouse.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing for me is just the self-awareness.
For me, it's just being a traveler. I think it unlocks something that you just don't get living in a completely stationary life. I grew up in the South. I didn't really travel as a child, but I always had wanderlust. Like I read across something recently. It's always been in me, even when I was younger, the way I talked, the things I wanted to do, it always revolved around travel and being out and traveling. You experience the world and you see it in a much different light than it's painted on the news, painted on social media. So I think to me, that's been really cool. The people, the cultures, how many subcultures are in this country is just unbelievable. The different types of people. And to me, that's been the most interesting and probably profound part because it really has changed my outlook on the world completely.
Well, if you guys could go back and give yourselves a little piece of advice about starting out, what would you say to your younger selves?
Keep following your nudge. Just because it's going to get you to where you want to grow. Trust yourself, trust that you know what's best for you. And yeah, just trust yourself. You got this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just, just do it. You can always, you can always go back home and buy a house and get a regular job and live in a stationary life. But if it's, if you have that drive and that itch and that desire to travel, I think you got to try it. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't. Because you can always go back. I mean, you can always start over, but I think you get out here and you travel and it's just, I don't know, it opens your eyes to the world in a way that I don't think you could do it otherwise. I mean, you look at all the profound, people throughout history, they were travelers to some extent, just some of the greats in their field, they have traveled. If they're, most likely very extensively, I've kind of recently gotten into Anthony Bourdain again. And I mean, he promoted travel. That was his thing. Like you've got to travel the world to find yourself and to see what the way that things really work. And I think that could be said. I mean, there's just knowledge that you unlock by doing it that you wouldn't get otherwise.
Well, speaking of books, Kitchen Confidential is fantastic, but
Okay.
let's talk about Soulful Miles a little bit. Uh, when did you tell me about like this aha moment? And maybe it wasn't an aha moment, but when you were like, you know what? I'm going to do this because writing a book is not easy. And so sitting down and having that cursor blinking at you as you've got your laptop open and saying, okay, kind of tell me about how it started and the idea and the impetus, the catalyst, if you will.
Well, ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to write a book. I didn't know what I wanted to write about or what I wanted to write. I just knew that I wanted to write a book. And for the past several years, I'd been toying with the idea. And in fact, I was writing a completely separate book. My first thing I was writing for the first 2 years wasn't Soulful Miles. It was a different book. And then in the middle of writing this, which I wrote on my notepad in my phone, but in the middle of writing that, I had this nudge that was like, this is not the book you need to put out first. And it just said, you need to tell your story. And so I just kind of started writing. And every time I would get like this urge to write, I would just open my phone up, jot it down, keep on going. And so I had a PR person last year that was like, Jen, we have to set a date. I'm like, I know. If I don't have a date, I'm not going to get this done. And so we set a date of October 1st. I had to get all the stuff, my manuscript into her by October 1st. And this was September 1st. And so we had bought our New Mexico property. And I'm out there on this property, and every single day I'm going on a long walk. And while I'm on that walk, I'm writing my book. And it just kind of, when it was ready to come out, it just did. And so everything flowed. And then my PR person knew someone in the publishing world. She sent her my manuscript. She loved me. And the first person that we pitched picked me up to publish my book. Yeah, I found out the day after Ethan, our son that we lost, the day after his birthday, I found out that they were going to take my book on.
Ethan, I mean, between the Gabby thing and now this, like, he's still very much a part of your lives.
Oh, he's always there. Every September,
Absolutely.
he gifts me something in some way.
Absolutely. So when you said that you were kind of writing this book in your phone on the notes, it was just kind of coming out of you in that way that you just had to get it down onto paper?
Yeah, I never wrote once in a laptop. It was strictly on my phone, and the only time that it went into a laptop was when my editor needed it in Microsoft Word. So I had to put it in there.
Was it multiple notes, or was it just one really long note that you
Really long note.
That
Yep.
is really funny. What a cool way to do it. Who would have thought you wrote a book on your phone?
All notes.
Yeah. Apple, if you're listening. So let me ask you guys this, as I kind of want to ask you, what does next, in air quotes, look like for you two and your family? What's kind of on the horizon? What's next?
Well, I mean, unfortunately our time here is winding up here in the PNW. We're slated to be here about a week and a half. We are headed to an event up in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. We've been to it the last 2 years. We just really enjoy it. It's a camping event with all people from all over. It's just a lot of fun. So we like to go to that. Then after that, we really don't know. We don't have a ton of plans. Usually end up in Florida in the late fall, early winter. That's where we're from. That's kind of, we don't plan a lot. I mean, we're just to a fault. I'm sure we don't really plan much. I mean, YouTube wise, I think, I'm just going to keep making those. I'm really not putting a lot of pressure on these videos. I just make what I want to make, and Jen runs a quick edit on it for me, and I upload it. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and, and just trying to enjoy everything.
Where can people find you guys and follow along on your adventures?
So I started my own YouTube channel called Genuinely Being right after Being Bethune's ended, because I wasn't ready to quit. And it's just like coming over to a friend's house and we're walking through life together, going down the road together, whatever problems may come. It's from my perspective. And so that's where I am. That's where I am most, is on there 5 days a week. I'm uploading 5 long form videos Monday through Friday. And I just get to hang out with my friends.
And I'm over in kind of more of the, I want to say family channel, but Bus and Bethune's. We kind of was joking around with the kids about busing. The kids were saying that. And I was like, we have a bus. And I just kind of went with it. Why not? So Bus and Bethune's on YouTube. I upload a vlog every Sunday morning. So.
And I'm so glad he came back, because his videos are so sweet and calming and relaxing. And he does such a good job. Such a good job.
I actually enjoy both of your channels for various different reasons. So, it's funny. I watch way more YouTube than any sort of subscribed content. I have my shows that are, the people that I watch, and so I probably watch that more than anything. Well, you guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening and plugging in and coming on the show. It has been a real honor to talk with you guys, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Brooks.
You are amazing, Brooks. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you again for listening to RV Out West. I really appreciate it. If you got value from this episode, please follow the podcast in your podcast app. It's free and it helps the show. Also, give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook to join in on the conversation. One more thing. I'd like to ask you to please share this episode with one person you know, a fellow RVer, someone looking to maybe get into RVing, or a friend or family member who just loves the Pacific Northwest. Next Monday's episode, we chat with another brand new RV resort that has just opened this summer along the I-5 corridor in Skagit County. They offer some great amenities and are a wonderful place to springboard your adventure from. Tune in next week as we chat with them to learn about their resort as well as some of their favorite places to camp right here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Thanks for listening to RV Out West. Be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed the show, tell a friend and please leave a rating or a review. It would mean a lot. Special thanks to Scott Home Music for our intro song, We Are One. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to join in on the conversation. Now, get out there, explore, and go see what's beyond the horizon.